And hi and welcome. It's the Baylor Coaches Show presented by Central National Bank. We are live at Rudy's on the Circle in Waco. Thanks to those of you that are here. Thanks to those of you listening on our flagship station in Waco. Those of you listening online and those of you watching the Baylor Athletics YouTube stream. And folks, join me in welcoming our leadoff guest tonight, Baylor soccer coach Michelle Lenard. Welcome to you.
Thanks, John. Happy to be here.
Thanks for being here. I really appreciate that. I think I've told you 4 times already. Thanks for being here. But you got a big week ahead. You got a match tomorrow night, a big one, another one on Sunday. But thanks for making time in your schedule.
It's on my way home. Works out great.
Stop by here, get a little food,
yes,
and
get the family fed.
That is very nice. Well, this is a big week for you, isn't it? Final 2 home games of the year.
Yeah, it's a big week. We've got senior night tomorrow night, so obviously an exciting opportunity to honor those kids. And then these 2 games, our last 2 home games of the season, last 2 conference home games, especially important. So hoping to finish out the season on a high note. Yeah.
Well, tell us about senior night. How do you handle senior night?
I've been doing this a long time, so it's always a special night. It's emotional. I mean, we have a lot of history between our coaching staff and our team and our seniors, but really proud of them and enjoy watching them have this experience, have the opportunity to reflect on their numerous years here at Baylor. Some of them have been here for 4, some were transfers and have been here for less, but just an opportunity to reflect on that and kind of honor them, hopefully, with the way that we play and get an opportunity to make the game a little bit more about them than it normally might be. So we're excited for the girls.
That's nice. You're 3rd year here, but you've got some seniors that have been with you longer than that.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. So we've got 3 seniors who were here when I got here, so they're in their 4th year.
Okay.
We've got 1, Marissa Gray, who came back, so this is her 2nd senior day. And then we've got 2 who transferred with me when I came, and so this is their 3rd year. But one of them is injured and will return next year. But she's going to go through senior day tomorrow just because it's her graduating class.
That's Blythe.
That's Blythe,
Okay.
Yeah.
And Ashley Merrill will be senior recognition. Do you do it pregame? Do you do it postgame? How do you handle that?
We do it after the game.
Yeah.
So we've got a couple things built into the 24 hours prior. So the team will do some things together tomorrow.
Oh, nice.
But we'll hold all the stuff till after the game.
Right. I'm sure, have a great appreciation for your seniors, and their leadership and what they provide to your team.
Absolutely. This group of seniors has had a big role in helping us transition the program to a different style of play and really kind of rebuilding the program around our vision for it. And so they've been through a little bit of a rocky road in the beginning, but have been awesome leaders to help us make that transition and lay the foundation for the future of Baylor soccer. They're all great players who have helped us elevate the level of the team, but more importantly, they're great people who are great examples of what it means to be a Baylor student, a Baylor student athlete. They're going to go into the world and they're going to do all kinds of cool things. They're just really special people, so we are very proud of them and really excited to hopefully continue their season if we can continue into the conference tournament and potentially even the NCAA tournament.
All right, right there, what has to happen? I mean, you win, you're in. I mean, not assured, but you need to keep winning to get a spot first in the Big 12 tournament.
Right, yeah. So the automatic bid in the Big 12 goes to the conference tournament winner. So that's the one way to be sure. Get to the conference tournament, win the conference tournament, you get the automatic bid. The at-large bids are going to go to, after all the automatic bids go. And so we're in a good position right now with our RPI. I wouldn't say that we're safe, but we're a little bit on the bubble, but we're in a good position. And so I kind of think of it right now as we're like a runner who's run a really steady, solid race, and we need to have a good kick here at the end.
Yeah.
And if we can have a good kick here at the end and win the games that we should win, then not only will we be in the conference tournament, but I think our RPI will continue to improve. We have 2 teams left on our schedule ranked above us in the RPI, so an opportunity to beat those teams, potentially climb even higher. And I think we have a really good shot at even an at-large bid, even if we were not to win the Big 12 tournament. So it's all still right there in front of us, but we do need a good kick here at the end.
That's great motivation, isn't it, down the stretch?
It is, yeah.
Are you, last I saw was 40, right around 40 RPI?
We're 40 right now.
40, okay,
yes.
Sounds good. Can you make the NCAA tournament if you don't make the Big 12 tournament?
I think that is within the realm of possibility.
It's a possibility then, huh?
It could be, but I don't think we would.
Okay.
Because I think if we win the games we need to win to be in the Big 12 tournament, then I think we're in a better position.
Sure.
But if we don't, it'll affect our RPI. So I don't think, for us, it doesn't make a difference because we have 5 games left, and obviously we want to win them. So that's where our focus is. But I do think that it's one of those one-off. It could happen, but I think the safe bet is, we need to win 3 to 4 of our last 5.
Okay.
And that puts us in a good competitive position for an at-large bid, not a guarantee. And if we could run the table, then I think we're we're there.
Yeah, great. What's the overall RPI of our league this year? Do you know?
I don't know the average, no.
Okay.
I mean, right now
It's got to be pretty high.
it is. I
Yeah.
mean, we've got BYU and West Virginia currently ahead of us. Tech, I think, jumped us by 1 spot after our recent result. TCU's ahead of us. So there's a number of teams in the conference Colorado and TCU both ahead of us in the RPI, who we both tied both those opponents just a week ago. And so, the Big 12 in general is competing at a really high level, and we'll probably have 5 to 6, if not more, teams make the NCAA tournament.
Wow, that's great. Can we talk about that week? Was that just last week when you went to Colorado?
Was it? Wow.
I know. How long ago has that been? I think it was just last week, but they were ranked 16th at the time and came home with a 1-1 draw, which is tremendous, and came home and hosted TCU, which was ranked 22nd, and 1-1 draw with them also. I mean, that was a big week for you, even though they were both draws, not wins for you.
No, they're good results. Going to Colorado and playing at altitude and having to do that and then fly home and play at home on Sunday. TCU played at Houston, so they didn't have the same travel that we had. I was really proud of how our team played in Colorado in particular, because it's really tough to go up there and deal with the altitude, deal with the travel. We were playing a highly ranked opponent, and we played really well in that game, and we had our chances to come away with a win, and I thought it would have been very fair for us to win that game. Then to come home and play at 1 o'clock on a Sunday in the heat against TCU. So that was a tough game. We competed, and I thought earned a well-earned draw. I don't know that I could argue that we should have won the game, but I definitely feel like it was a fair result to get a tie. And so coming out of that weekend, probably our hardest weekend of the season, with 2 ties is really positive. Took a lot out of us and maybe kind of hung around a little bit going into Lubbock. So now we got to kind of shake that off and move into this weekend with some more confidence and assertiveness to take some wins away this weekend.
All right, very good. So this week, Arizona State is here tomorrow night, 7 o'clock, senior night, as you mentioned. Then Sunday, your home finale is West Virginia.
Yes.
Is that 1 o'clock on Sunday or
yes,
2?
1 o'clock.
1 o'clock on Sunday. I mean, those are 2 big home opportunities for you.
They are, and that's exactly what we view them as opportunities. Arizona State has done well enough. I mean, our conference is super tight right now. There's hardly any difference between the top and the bottom, and so this weekend will really clear some of that up, I think. But they're going to be a tough opponent. They're well organized. They're well coached. They've had some decent results throughout the season, but I think it's a good matchup for us. I think that we've found some areas we think we can exploit them in, and some matchups that are going to go in our favor. So we're excited. The girls are really up for it, and then West Virginia on Sunday, again, kind of a similar situation. Like, they're a good opponent. They've had a really good season. I don't think they've had as strong of a schedule as we have, and I think that plays into our favor. But it's a good matchup. Tactically, it's a good matchup. We've got some areas where I feel like we've got the edge on them, and so we're looking to exploit those areas on Sunday.
Good. You have played a tough schedule this year.
Yeah,
so,
we have. Yeah,
I mean, you've been tested from day one, really, haven't you?
It's been a tough season, and our conference schedule is one of the hardest in the conference. And how they come up with the conference schedule is beyond me.
Lucky you.
I know. Yeah, we've had a really tough start, which is good because we have played some of the better teams right away. The teams that are ranked at the top of the conference, TCU, Colorado, and Tech, we've played all 3 of them already. And we tied 1-0 loss, probably should have been a tie. And so we're right there competing with the top 3 teams in the conference. And so we just have to turn that into results against these other teams this last couple of weekends.
Good. So in the standings, help educate all of us, it's about points. You get 3 points for a win. You get 1 for a tie, correct?
Yes, that's right. So 3 points for a win, 1 for a tie. We do have a weird situation playing out this season where there was a game canceled because of weather and it wasn't made up. And so now it's a points per game. So you get all the points and they divide it by the number of games you've played. All the weather out on the East Coast has affected a lot of schools. And so I'm wondering if that's going to happen again over the next week with the hurricanes coming in right now. So I'm not sure. But that's how it'll be determined, is by points.
Points per game?
Yeah, so if you
I got you.
Yeah.
Sort of balances things out if you don't have the same number.
It has the potential to really mess somebody up somewhere,
really?
So we're trying to get ourselves out of that situation where
Just
we're not
win.
the team. Yes, exactly, to be messed up by that.
We continue with Coach Michelle Lenard, Baylor Soccer. Step back and look at your season to this point. How would you describe your team and your season to this point in the year, still with some big games to go?
Yeah, I mean, taking the big picture into account, I think we're in a really good position. I think, the season ebbs and flows, and you have some mountains and some valleys, and you have to really be able to ride that out. And so looking back, we've got 2 really big wins that are going to really help us. We've got 2 really big ties. We've got some solid other wins in addition to that. We've got a lot of experience. We've played some really high-level teams, and so we've tested ourselves. We've been challenged. We've seen just about every scenario I think we could at this point in the season. So I feel really good about where we are. I feel confident that our team is prepared for this point in the season. We've got a lot of veteran players now who've been deep in a season before and understand what it takes to have the endurance at this point in the year and the focus and the clarity needed to get results here at the end of the year. So confident about where we are and feel really good, and we put ourselves in a good position, and now it's just a matter of having that strong kick like I mentioned before.
Yeah, that's great. In your third year here, I mean, the trajectory just continues to rise. I mean, it's very evident now you're playing your style and just getting better each and every year, which is what you hope.
Absolutely. We've made progress. It's clear we're consistently getting better, and within this year I think we're getting better as well. And I don't think the results are always showing that, but hopefully that'll change here over the next couple of games. But the team has had a really good growth mindset throughout, not just the last 3 years, but within this season. So we're getting better each week, and I'm seeing it at training. We had a good week at training this week. And so, yeah, we feel good about it, and we're definitely making progress, and now finish out the season.
There you go. Finish strong.
Yeah.
How do you like the new expanded Big 12? New schools last year and more new schools this year.
Yeah. I mean, I've enjoyed it. We got tough opponents for sure, and every game is difficult, and there is no soft game on our schedule anywhere. But I think it's good for the conference. I think it's good for women's soccer. It means every game is exciting, and you really got to get ramped up for it. And so it's challenging. It requires a lot of mental fortitude to deal with that week in and week out, and that's something that we've really challenged our players on. But I like it. I like the addition of the new programs, some good locations to travel to. And so I think it's been good for the conference and is going to help us. We'll get more teams into the NCAA tournament as a result.
Good. Well, you'd hope the strength of the league would pull more schools in. And you're going out to Utah next week, right, at BYU and at Utah next week?
Yes. Yeah, that's that. And then after that, Iowa State.
Right.
But Utah's a big trip for us. Obviously, BYU gets a lot of people at their home events, and so that's going to be a big moment. But it'll be nicer weather. We've already played at altitude once this season, so we feel pretty equipped to do that. And we're better than we were last time we played them, and they graduated a lot of seniors. Almost their entire starting lineup graduated. And so we feel like that's a pretty good matchup for us as well.
Good. That's next week. Sorry to make you look ahead.
That's okay.
Got Arizona State and West Virginia before you get there. What about you've played so many close games this year. I think Houston you beat 4-1. But
4-0.
4-0, I'm sorry. But other than that, gosh, they've been tight. 1 or 2 goal differences.
Yeah, and I think it just shows the strength of the conference. And also, last year we were losing those games. And so we've made progress. TCU beat us 2-0 last year. This year we tied, and Tech beat us, I think, the same 2-0. And so we're getting some better results than we did last year. But the conference is really tough, and every week is like that. And it's not just our games. A lot of the games across the conference are – last week a lot of teams tied. We weren't the only ones. So it can come down to one moment, one goal, one big play. But that's, the reality with a really high-level conference, and that's what we all want to have.
Yeah.
And we just got to find ways to win.
That's what I was going to say, or leading into with a close game like that. I mean, it's one small thing sometimes, isn't it, that makes the difference?
The margins are really small.
Right.
It can be inches. You can play pretty consistently over the course of the game, and that's what happened in the last game was they had their one chance and they scored it, and we didn't. And so, but we've been on the other side of that as well, and so we've got to come out there and find ways to win, and that's the next big growth step for our team is find that edge, find that next level, like make things happen. Even if it's not perfect, find a way to put the ball in the back of the net, and that's where we're really challenging our team right now.
Good. Health-wise, you're late in the year. Are things good there?
Yeah, I mean, we're in a good position. Everybody's a little tired and sore, and you can have some kids that are a little banged up at this point in the year. But I think overall we've managed their load really well. They're fit. They're strong. Our trainers and our strength coaches do an excellent job of making sure that they're ready to go on game day. So right now, yes, we're healthy.
That's good news. All right, we got some questions from the audience. Let's take a break. We'll get to those when we come back. Continuing with Coach Michelle Lenard, Baylor soccer coach. We got some questions from the audience, okay? I didn't see any from that end of that table. I'm kind of surprised. You two guys, you can still get a question in. Just bring it up here, okay, if you'd like. It's your husband and your son. First from Bob Barrett. Bob is right there. Bob asked, who is your best defensive player?
That's a tough question because we do have – our defense in general has been really good this year. We've given up very few goals. Our goalkeeper has been outstanding, so I want to start with her and just give her tons of credit. She's kept us in some really tight matches and made some huge saves. But I think I really have to give the shout out to Hallie Augustin. She's one of our twins that plays on the back line. Her sister plays in multiple positions, is really a utility player. But Hallie's been rock solid. I think she probably leads the conference or near leads the conference in blocked shots.
Wow.
And she also contributes a lot to our attack. She is who we play through. So like in other sports, you could think of her like a quarterback or a point guard. She gets on the ball and starts our attack all the time. So a lot of good players in the back line. Natalie Vatter has just been outstanding this year as well. So it's hard to pick one. But Hallie has been, I think, just the most consistent and played every minute of every game, which is why I'm going to give her the shout-out.
Wow. Every minute of every game.
Yeah.
That's great. And Azul has just been great in goal, hasn't she?
Azul's been amazing. Yeah. So can't take anything away from her. I mean, the whole back line as a whole, we need to score goals and help them out because they're doing just about everything that they can at this point.
Nice. Great question. Thank you, Bob. Here's a question from John Jackson. John's right here. Is there any clarity on scholarship limits for next year with the pending approval or with the approval of the NCAA rules this week?
Yeah, so I think obviously the preliminary approval of that means that everybody's going to have no limit, but it'll be a roster cap. The number for soccer is 28. Whether or not each institution is able to financially support 28 is going to be an institutional decision, and so we're waiting. And Baylor's working hard to give us some numbers. But we feel like Baylor's going to be very, very competitive in this area. While we don't have a final number yet, we are expecting an increase and one that will be very competitive with anybody in the country.
Good. Where do you think that might land? Where do you think that number might be?
I haven't been told a number, so I'm not sure I could say for sure.
Okay.
But, I think over 20 would be something I feel confident about. And then we'll see where it goes after that. I'm not really sure. There's so many pieces, that have to do with, like, Title IX. And all the other sports roster limits, so I'm glad I'm not in administration right now. Let me just say that.
Yeah, and the increased cost of increased scholarships also. I mean, you think about that, not just soccer, but every sport.
Yes.
Yeah, every sport is going to have an increase.
Every sport is, going to have an increase. Yeah. And so there's a lot for them to figure out, but Baylor is consistently on top of it, and I'm confident going to be very aggressive in this area, and we'll be competitive with everyone.
Yep, no question. That's great.
Yeah.
All right, question from Roy Evans. Roy is right here, front and center. What is your craziest recruiting story?
Wow. I've had some crazy recruiting trips. But actually the one that comes to mind is just because it's one of our current players is how Ashley Merrill ended up here at Baylor in the first place, or even playing for me in the first place. So years ago now, so many years ago, Blythe Obar committed to play at my previous institution as a freshman in high school. So she was 14, 15 years old, freshman, committed to play there, was committed for a couple of years. And I think this summer, maybe a year and a half before she arrived on campus, came to one of our camps in the summer, already committed, and just brought her friend with her who wasn't going to play college soccer. And so Ashley shows up with Blythe at camp, and I'm like, who is this kid? Why don't I know her? And she thought she was going to be done with soccer after high school, played at the camp, was fantastic. And so, of course, I was like, what are you doing? Like, you got to play. And so was able to get her on campus for a visit and able to convince her to come and play for me initially at DBU. And then, obviously she's here now. And so looking back, she's in her 5th year because she was a freshman during COVID. And she can tell you herself, and that's a whole other story for another time, but she almost quit during that time too, just with the stress and anxiety around COVID. And so the fact that she's here in her 5th year, a captain on this team, one of the leading goal scorers, has been the whole 3 years she's been here, is really special. And she just showed up at my doorstep. So I wish that happened more often. Yeah. It doesn't ever, but in this case it did.
That's funny. It's like basketball coaches, you hear them say sometimes, always have somebody in the office over lunch hour. Yeah. You never know when a 7-footer is going to walk through the door.
You never know. I could use another one.
Yeah, exactly. What a great story. We did the Sikkim podcast with Ashley, and it was so fun. It was so great to visit with her.
She's got a great personality.
Yeah, very much so.
Very transparent person, so she's fun to interview.
Yeah. And senior night, she'll be recognized at senior night tomorrow night. All right, here's a question from Jared. Where is Jared in the room? There's Jared Brown. Do you adjust training during the season based on schedule, fitness level, etc.?
Yeah, we work really hard on managing load, and especially for our high-minute players. So we adjust it throughout. Every week we spend a lot of time, hours, preparing for practice, starting with our wellness survey, which our players do every day, then looking at their GPS data and all the science behind that, then looking at our upcoming opponent. And so we factor all of those things in. If we played, last week we only had one game against Tech, so this week we were able to get an extra day in for training, which was really nice. when we play 2 games a week, we have to be really, really smart about how we train. And so there's, I like to say it's a balance between science and art, because there's a lot of science behind it, but you got to have a feel as well for what your team needs at this point in the season. So, yeah, we adjust it constantly, and sometimes I'll plan a whole practice out, and then a couple of my players will walk in and give me some verbal feedback about how they're feeling, and we'll throw that out and make adjustments last minute, because one time in the spring I was doing this. I thought we were overloaded and fatigued and needed a lighter day. And they came in and they were like, what are you doing? We want to play. And so I said, okay. So we dialed it up and had a more intense practice after that feedback.
Nice.
So, yeah.
Very good. Good question, Jared. Thank you. Here's a question from Bob Barrett. Bob asks, is NIL a big factor in soccer now?
It's becoming one, yes. It wasn't at first, and things are rapidly changing, especially with this, NCAA lawsuit and everything there. The scholarship limit change will really help us a lot, but NIL is a factor in soccer, and we're seeing it more and more. And one of the reasons is because a lot of the players have the opportunity to go off and play professionally, and so colleges are using it as a way to keep their kids here and graduating. So it's not nearly as much as it is in football and basketball, but it's significantly more important than it was just a year ago, and I think probably will continue to be so.
It's the way of the world these days, isn't it?
It is, yeah. It's
in
the
college
reality
athletics.
of it, and I don't think we can walk that back. So
Gotcha.
It's the new world.
Gotcha. Well, thank you again for being here. Good luck this week. Arizona State tomorrow night, West Virginia on Sunday. Last home games of the year for Baylor soccer, so come out to Betty Lou Mays Field and support Baylor soccer. Good luck wrapping things up.
Appreciate it. Thank you, John.
Coach Michelle Lenard with us.